Hello everyone! On behalf of Rainbow Loom, this is Angelynn, formerly known as TutorialsByA here on YouTube, and today I'm here to show you how to create this fairy lace bracelet. This is a reversible design. This is one side and this is another, but the front and the back look relatively similar. And on this bracelet on the left here, I used these checkered rubber bands. These are available on the Rainbow Loom website in the Circus collection. I will link them in the description box below. I would say this bracelet is an intermediate level design. It's not super difficult to make, but we do have some rubber bands under higher tension, so it does require some more patience. Anyways, I'm so excited to show you how to create this fairy lace bracelet, so now without further ado, let's get started. To make today's bracelet, I'll be using the Rainbow Loom Wear and Share kit. This kit comes with two mighty looms, which look like this. These are smaller versions of the Rainbow Loom 2.0, which for a size comparison, this is the 2.0, and I think the mighty loom is especially helpful when we're creating bracelets with higher tension designs like today's. However, it can definitely be done on a Rainbow Loom 2.0 or a Rainbow Loom original as well. As I mentioned earlier, you can create this design on one or more looms depending on how many you have and if you want the design to go all the way around your wrist or not. Today I'll be showing you how to create it on just one loom so that way I can show you what that length of the design looks like, but here are two that I've created that are on two looms. And I think if you have three, maybe four, you'll have a whole entire design going all the way around. In addition to one or more rainbow looms, or in my case the mighty loom, you will also need a hook, some rubber bands, and a C-clip or a G-clip to secure your bracelet. This kit comes with G-clips, so that's what I'll be using today. For the placement and the looming of our rubber bands in this video, we'll be going between each of the three colors, so it's relatively fast since we don't have to go down the loom and come back and go down the loom again. So starting off with my first color, I'm going to take one rubber band and go up to the left, like that. And then I'll go over to the right. Now with my next color, I'm going to make an exaggerated V shape starting at that same bottom center pin. So we're gonna go here, and then we're gonna go up to that pin up there. Now we're gonna do the same thing on the other side, like that. And now with our third color, we are going to create our triangle shaped bands. So the first one is gonna go from the bottom pin here, up one, and then up and over another. So just make sure you have this sort of shape, and then we'll do the same thing to the other side. So triangle like that. So we have a hexagon type of shape now overall. Go ahead and push my bands down, and we're ready to repeat the same three steps again. So with my first color, I'm going to start at the top of this hexagon now and go out. Same thing on the other side. Then we'll make an exaggerated V shape by going from that same bottom pin of our hexagon, of our new hexagon, and then we'll do the same thing to the other side. And now we'll do our triangle bands on each side. So we'll go from the bottom of our hexagon up and over to make this triangle, and then we'll do the same exact thing on the other side. Like that. Now we'll move on to our next hexagon. So I'll go, starting at the top of the previous one, we'll go out and out again. Then we have our exaggerated V shape. And lastly, we have our triangle bands. I'll show you one last time. So we'll go at the top of this previous hexagon, make a little V shape, then an exaggerated V shape, and then our triangle bands. So you'll go ahead and repeat those same steps until you reach the end of your loom, and I'll come back towards the end to show you how I'm finishing off my rubber band placement. Alright, so this is what my loom is looking like now that I've reached the end. So you should have two pins up here that are empty, and then you should have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 hexagons total. So once you've reached this point, as long as your loom looks like this, we can go ahead and rotate 180 degrees. And if you're using 2 or more looms, go ahead and do as many hexagons as you could fit across all of those looms. So now at the bottom here, we have our arrow pointing up that says the number 2, and our pins are in an upside down U-shaped orientation. Now before we start looming, we need to add a cap band to the bottom of our loom. If you have this hook, there's a cap band applicator at the bottom here that we can use. So just choose one of your colors, doesn't really matter which one. And I'm going to wrap this around the bottom of my hook once, twist, and then twice. So you should have a doubled over rubber band at the end of this hook. And now we'll simply place this on the pin that we want to put the cap band on, which will be this bottom center pin. And you just simply slide this down off the hook, like that. If you don't have this hook, then you'll go ahead and just take this one rubber band of whatever color you'd like and wrap it around once, twist, and then twice on this bottom center pin for a doubled over rubber band there. And that is our cap band. And now we're ready to start looming. For this looming process, we will kind of go the same way, but kind of backwards, I guess, from how we place the rubber bands. So we'll be working down our loom 1 hexagon at a time. So to start, we'll first be looming these triangle bands here. And for these rubber bands, we are going to basically fold them in half over whatever is already on the pins here. So first we'll reach into our cap band, which is the top 2 layers here. For me, they're blue. I'll grab the 3rd layer, which is my left side triangle band. Carefully remove this off of the pin. You can hold on to that cap band if you'd like, so that way it doesn't fall off. And what I mean by folding it over to where it is already placed basically means that we're going to place it on this bottom left pin that it's on already, and then the top one as well. So we've stretched it across the 2 pins that it is placed on. So for this one right here, we will be placing it across this one and this pin right here, because those are the 2 pins that it's already on. So reaching inside this cap band again here, I'm going inside these 2 layers for this cap band, grabbing the right side triangle, pulling it off, and then we are going to place this rubber band on the same 2 pins that we see it's already on. So we've basically like folded it in half. So you should have something like this at this point. Now we're going to loom our exaggerated V-shaped bands back to where they came from, basically. So we're folding these ones in half as well by reaching in through these 2 yellow layers here, pulling those back and grabbing the bottom band and folding it in half by placing it back to where the other end is. I had a little bit of my cap band fall off there. So now we'll do the same thing to the right side. I'll go inside these 2 layers here, grab the bottom layer for this right side exaggerated V-shaped band, and place that on that top center pin of this hexagon. Now for this last set of bands of our hexagon, we are not going to be folding these in half to where they go back to where the other end of that same rubber band is. So instead, we'll first reach into this left side, grab this one rubber band, and I'm going to loom this upwards onto the next hexagon. So looming this up onto that next hexagon. Same thing on this right side, we'll loom this one band up onto the next hexagon. And that completes our first hexagon's looming process. So now we'll move on to the next one. And again, we'll start off first with our triangle bands. So we have quite a bit of layers here, so just make sure that you're reaching through all of them and use the back of your hook to push what you don't want out of the way. Then you'll grab the next rubber band, which is our yellow triangle band. And remember, we place this on 2 pins here, the whole left vertical side of our hexagon. And now we'll do the same thing on the right side. So reaching in through all these layers and grabbing that bottom yellow layer, pulling it off of the pin, and then we'll place it on the 2 pins that rubber band is already on. Now we'll do our exaggerated V-shaped bands. These just get placed onto the same pin that the other rubber band, or the other end of this rubber band, is on. These just go to the top of the hexagon. And now we'll loom the top of our hexagon here, and these ones just go up. So loom this upwards, loom this upwards. Okay, so now we have our second hexagon done, and we'll go a little bit faster for our third one. So here's our hexagon here. I'm reaching in through the bottom, grabbing the left triangle band, looming it onto the 2 pins on the left that it's already on, and for the right side, the 2 pins on the right that triangle band is already on. Now for the exaggerated V-shaped bands, we'll go in, grab this band, fold it in half, so that way the 2 ends are met together. Now we'll take this end of the rubber band and place it back where the other end of itself is on this top pin of our hexagon. And now we'll loom the top portion upwards. Same on the right side, like that. So one last time and then I'll fast forward. So first we have our triangle band on the left, and then the triangle band on the right. Then we have our exaggerated V-shaped band. And then the other side here. And now we loom the last set of bands up. Just like that. So I'm gonna go ahead and continue the rest of this looming process, and I will meet you back to show you how we're gonna finish off this bracelet. All right, so I'm reaching the end here, and now for these 2 bands here, we of course don't have any pins above here to loom them forward like we did the previous hexagon, so these 2 will just go into this top center pin. So this left one, instead of looming it up, since I can't, we'll loom it to this center pin here, and then the same thing on the right side. Loom it over to that center pin there. So at this point, this is what my loom looks like, and yours should look just like this. And now we are ready to close this bracelet off so that way we can remove it from the loom. So I'm going to take one color of my rubber band. I'm just going to use the same color that I plan on making my extension later. So actually, let's do yellow. So I'm going to take a single yellow rubber band, turn my loom sideways here so you can see a little bit better. I'm going to reach my hook into this top center pin and go through all of these layers that we have placed on here. There's quite a bit of layers here, so make sure that your hook is through all of them, otherwise you will lose your bracelet. So make sure that it's through all of them. And then with my hook here, I'm going to grab this one single loose rubber band that I have in my left hand. So I'm going to grab this with my hook, and then we are going to pull this rubber band through the pin, through all of those layers, like this. So now I have this rubber band going through all of those layers. I'm going to use my left hand to add this end back onto my hook. And then I'll scoot this up onto my hook. And now we have a single chain rubber band here holding all of the layers on that pin. It is under a lot of stress and tension because there's so many layers here, so make sure you don't pull too hard on this single band or it might break. Many of our rainbow loom kits come with this bead hook, which is a hook that helps you place beads onto your bracelets, and I'm going to use this to help remove my bracelet from the loom today so that I make sure nothing breaks. This also helps to make your bracelet come off the loom a little bit nicer so the rubber bands lay flatter on your bracelet. If you pull this off of the loom instead, your rubber bands might end up twisted. So highly recommend taking the patient route and using your hook to remove this from the loom. So I still got a little bit of twisting on some of my bands, so I'm gonna go ahead and untwist them, just so that way they lay nice and flat. I am very much a perfectionist, so I love to make sure that my bracelet is all cleaned up nice. And so here's our bracelet design now. Looks so cool, and I'm so happy with this color combo. I always love choosing something bright and fun. So now we have our bracelet design here, and this of course is not long enough to go around my wrist, and if you use 1 or 2 looms, yours likely is not as well. So we're gonna go ahead and add an extension on, which is just this single chain here that makes our bracelet long enough to fit around a wrist. So for me, I'm gonna use the same color that I used for this one single chain here, which is yellow. If you'd like in-depth instructions on how to create a single chain bracelet, please check out the description box below, as we have a full-length tutorial on how to create a single chain bracelet. So I'll kind of breeze through this since it's relatively simple. We'll just take one band at a time, starting at the bottom of our loom with this arrow pointing up that says the number 1. I'm going to place my rubber bands going from bottom to top in a zigzag. And for me, I'm going to use about 10 rubber bands, but you might need more or less depending on your own wrist size. I personally have a pretty small adult wrist for reference. So let's see how many I've done. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Pardon me, I used 10 rubber bands for my 2 loom versions. So for my 1 loom version, I'm probably gonna need more than 10. So let's do about maybe 18, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. I'll actually stop at 17 and we'll see how this goes. So I've got 17 rubber bands on my loom, I believe. And once you've reached your desired number of single chain links, then we'll go ahead and rotate our loom 180 degrees to where we have this arrow at the bottom pointing up that says the number 2. And on whatever your bottom pin of your zigzag is the pin that will transfer, oh my goodness, that will transfer this bracelet onto. Fully yanked it off my hook. So make sure you use your hook to hold on to this, otherwise your bracelet may fall apart. So I have my single chain here and we're gonna place this on this bottom pin right here. So I'm gonna just use my finger to go in through those rubber bands to help me hold those 2 layers, and then we'll transfer them onto this bottom pin. And you'll do whatever your bottom pin of your zigzag is. So if you ended up here, then go ahead and add it up there, or if you ended down here, add it down here. Now we'll loom this like a normal single chain. So I'm gonna kind of pull this out of the way just so I can see my rubber bands here. I'm gonna grab the bottom layer and loom it over, and we'll continue to go inside the top 2 layers, grab the bottom layer and loom it over like that. Now I've finished looming my single chain extension and this is what it looks like. I'm ready to go ahead and add a G clip, or you can also use a C clip, onto this last pin with our last set of rubber bands. So I'm going to take this and scoop up the 2 layers that are on here. Actually, it'd be easier to come in from this side, like that. And once you've made sure that this G clip is holding on to those 2 layers, then we can go ahead and remove this from our loom. Now I'm going to attach my 2 ends together by adding this little cap band on this side, which is a circular rubber band made of 2 layers, and I'm going to put that onto the G clip here. And now we have our finished fairy lace bracelet. And for reference, 17 links has fit my wrist perfectly. Thanks so much for watching this tutorial on how to create the fairy lace bracelet. I really hope you enjoyed it as much as I did, and I've had so much fun creating all these bracelets, so I hope you did too. If you make your own fairy lace bracelet or any other rainbow loom bracelet design, we would love to see it on social media if you tag us at this username on Instagram and TikTok, and be sure to post with the hashtag rainbow loom in your caption. If you'd like to shop the rainbow loom wear and share kit, please check out the description box below. Again, thanks so much for watching today's tutorial, and I look forward to seeing you all in our next one. Bye!